The Group 1 William Reid Stakes at Moonee Valley was first run in 1925. Over the years, it has become an extremely popular weight-for-age sprint on the Australian racing calendar. The race was named after William Reid, who owned and bred a number of successful horses, including Uncle Sam, who won the Caulfield Cup twice in 1912 and 1914. William Reid's involvement with racing in Victoria was significant, but historical records from the era are surprisingly scarce. John Reid is the great-grandson of William Reid, and he takes up the story.
William Reid was born in Morayshire in Scotland in 1823. He emigrated to Australia when he was 20 and joined the London Bank. He became a bank manager and later branch inspector. He was also chairman of the board of Swallow and Ariel's, the biscuit manufacturer. He married the daughter of Hector Norman Simpson, who came from one of the early pioneering families of Victoria. Simpson also had a racing background as owner of Flying Doe, the VRC Derby winner in 1856. In his later years at the bank, he developed a keen interest in racing. He established the Glenalla Stud at his property near Sunbury and owned several successful horses towards the end of the 19th century. Preferring to keep his involvement in racing private while he was still involved with the bank, he reportedly raced under the assumed name of D. Small. In a letter to the editor in 1915, William Reid described his early years as an owner and breeder.
Looking backwards, I was an owner in 1869 and have never since been without a racehorse, sometimes far more of them than was good for me. In 1885, I commenced to breed from a granddaughter of Kelpie out of Ella.
When he retired from the bank, he was able to spend even more time on racing and breeding. A prominent journalist of the era visited him at Glenalla and was given a guided tour. In the article, he described William Reid as a quintessential Scotsman.
All that was required to complete the resemblance was for my host to have been dressed in kilts. For with his shrewd, merry, twinkling blue eyes and fresh-looking face framed in white whiskers, William Reid is the Scottish laird to the life.
The homestead at Glenalla was situated on a small plateau on a hill at the foot of which Emu Creek runs over a rocky bed, forming a glen on one side, which contributed to the first part of the name of the property. Orla came from one of his favourite horses. William Reid owned and raced Orla in the early 1900s. Orla was a chestnut gelding by Karma, who had a strong partiality for Moonee Valley. Glenalla comprised 1,600 acres, most of it hills and glens, well watered and grassed, ideal country for horse breeding. William Reid felt that horses bred and reared on hilly country had better legs and feet than those reared on the plains. He purchased the mare Melly in the early 1900s for 150 guineas and had great success with her progeny, including Knox and Somnambulist. He eventually sold Somnambulist to a Western Australian owner and Knox to Ceylon. However, his greatest success was with Uncle Sam, who was regarded as one of the best gallopers of the era. Uncle Sam was foaled in 1908 at Glenalla, sired by United States out of Melly. In 1912, Uncle Sam was reaching his peak under the guidance of trainer Mark Whitty. After winning the prestigious Toorak Handicap in great style over 8 furlongs, he incurred a £7 penalty for the Caulfield Cup. He'd won 4 successive races in the lead-up to the Caulfield Cup. Despite the penalty, Uncle Sam, ridden by George Lambert, won the 1912 Caulfield Cup over 12 furlongs and the prize money for his owner of 4,000 sovereigns. Uncle Sam was backed from 10-1 to 7-1 before the race, and he fought out a strong duel all the way down the straight to the post in what was described as a dogged win in race record equalling time. He was one of a very few horses who was able to win the Cup after being given a weight penalty. Also in 1912, Uncle Sam ran third in the Melbourne Cup behind Piastra. William Reid said his horse was very unlucky, getting well back in the field before flashing home for third. One of the prominent newspapers quoted William Reid after the race.
Mr. Reid is convinced Uncle Sam should have won this race. Uncle Sam had a bad passage in the early stages, and at the back of the course there were only 3 horses behind him. He had to go outside practically the whole field, and was then only beaten 2.25 lengths.
William Reid later wrote that he thought a pacemaker had ruined Uncle Sam's chances and enhanced those of the winner Piastra. He may have been referring to Shuja, who led for most of the way before tailing off. Whatever the reason, there's no doubt that Uncle Sam was very unlucky in the race. In 1913, Uncle Sam won another important race, the Weight for Age Memsie Stakes, over 7 furlongs, and later that year ran 4th in the Caulfield Cup. 1914 was another good year for Uncle Sam. After a close second in the Memsie Stakes, Uncle Sam won the Caulfield Cup for a second time in very impressive style by 2.5 lengths, this time ridden by Jim Ettershank. William Reid's pre-race instructions to Ettershank had been simply to use his own judgment and do his best. The prize money for the winner was £4,200. Newspaper reports were consistent in their praise for William Reid as an owner.
William Reid is recognised as a straight-going owner, and his win was very popular. He bets on a very small scale, and it was purely public money that reduced the Cup winner to so short a price on Saturday.
Uncle Sam eventually retired and was sent to start at Glenorlah in 1917. A newspaper article at the time provided a wonderfully vivid description of the horse standing at Glenorlah.
As he is led out of his roomy box, it is seen that his legs are as clean as the day on which the bony chestnut was first put into training. He is such a contented, healthy fellow that the only fodder he receives, in addition to the grass he finds in his paddock, is a couple of sheaves of oaten hay daily. Yet Uncle Sam is in tip-top condition, unlike some of the more pampered stallions whose owners err on the side of overfeeding. A dark chestnut, with no white except a trace of that colour on one nostril. Uncle Sam stands 16.3 hands and has a middle piece like a cask. He has great substance, shows plenty of quality and good flat bone. The late Frank Dakin always contended that a flat-ribbed horse could not be a good stayer. That undoubtedly good judge would have been pleased with Uncle Sam's confirmation. Uncle Sam has a good honest head, a peculiarity of which is a double curl on the forehead. A fancy Indian racing men, the native owners, believe this mark to be a lucky one.
Uncle Sam had limited success at stud, although he did sire a few winners. His career earnings were listed as £10,500. His stud fee was 30 guineas, strictly limited to approved mares. He died in 1929 at the ripe old age of 21. A half-sister to Uncle Sam, the Linty, was also owned by William Reid and showed great promise, winning the City Handicap in Adelaide, but her career was prematurely ended when she broke a leg in track work and had to be destroyed. William Reid had horses racing in his colours, green, white sash, red sleeves and cap, until the last years of his life. Fishbolt, sired by Uncle Sam, was a smart galloper, and Stringo won a race for his owner at Sunbury in 1921. This was probably William Reid's last win as an owner. The Glenorlah Handicap was also named as recognition for William Reid. First run in 1918, over 6 furlongs, the race became a regular fixture at Moonee Valley for many years. William Reid became increasingly involved in racing and joined the committee of the Moonee Valley Club. He was also president of the Owners and Trainers Association. He had strong opinions on racing and was a regular contributor to various newspapers in Victoria with his letters to the editor. His letters often encouraged lively debate, particularly his views about the totalizer. Not everybody agreed with him, but his opinions were widely respected. He believed that allowing pacemakers in races was no different to allowing horses to be pulled up or not run on their merits. He thought that in both cases it was clear that horses were not racing to win, but were only in the race to give others an unfair advantage. He also campaigned to stop the importation of overseas horses for breeding with hereditary health problems. He was particularly critical of imported horses with the disease known as roaring, a condition where the horse cannot inhale enough oxygen, resulting in a loss of performance. William Reid passed away at a private hospital in Hawthorn in 1923 at the age of 80 after a long illness. His obituary referred to his contribution to racing in Victoria and to his great popularity as an owner.
He was the ideal type of sportsman and in all his racing ventures was above reproach. It is doubtful if any owner in recent years has been trusted to the same extent as Mr. Reid was by racegoers. Many of his ideas were adopted by the leading racing clubs in the state, with benefit to themselves and to racing generally.
The inaugural William Reid Stakes was run in January 1925 and won by Night Patrol. William Reid's wife, son and daughter attended the race. Lord Stradbroke told the family that he hoped the race would be the forerunner of many notable contests. His forecast proved to be correct. Nearly 100 years on, the race has a proud history, despite a name change from 1994 to 2009. The race has been won by some great champions over the years, including Manicato, who won 5 consecutive times from 1979 to 1983. Other winners include Miss Andretti, Veau Rogue and Black Caviar. William Reid has a significant place in Australian racing history, and it is to be hoped that his legacy will continue to be remembered through the William Reid Stakes.